Okay, our next question is from Claude Claiborne. We will start with Mr. Kissick.
We've gotten a flavor from each of you as to what your thoughts were on the administration's stimulus program. But I'd like to know if you thought there were any parts of it that worked, any parts that didn't work, but even more importantly, what do you think should have been done to pull the country out of the recession?
I have to be honest, I have not seen any examples of any programs that have actually worked. The big thing is with the stimulus spending is all these programs have done, all they've done is create short-term government expenditure, driven jobs and work. Once those projects are done, those who were brought back to work from a layoff are going back to a layoff. It's not really creating any long-term benefit. Some of the most bizarre examples are, I think Michigan State University got $103,000 to refurbish their entomological display. These are the kinds of wasteful earmarks that were thrown into the stimulus. It really had no long-term benefit. Trying to get back to the second part of your question, which was what can we do then to try and stimulate job growth? Lower taxes. I mean, like I said, it's as simple as that. Let the American people keep their money. Those with the entrepreneurial spirit will then be able to invest in themselves to build their own business if they wish to. Those existing corporations will have the money to be able to reinvest in themselves. And that doesn't just include the immediate surge in job creation that they will bring to the table, but they'll also be able to reinvest in their facilities, to do expansions, to do improvements that has a ripple effect into construction, to build the new buildings, to build the additions that they'll need. Tool and die, they will be called upon to do a lot of the machining, which will benefit industry. Again, it's about letting the American people have their money back.
To follow up, Mr. Kissick, just to make clear, because I think Mr. Clyburn's question was generally at the end, what would you have done? Step back 2 years ago to that beginning of the recession and tell us what you would have done instead of the stimulus program.
Basically what I just lined up, really simple as that. Taxes should have been cut even beyond where President Bush had signed for tax cuts earlier in the decade. Because when people get that infusion of cash, not just government bailout cash, but money that they've earned that they can keep, that they know is going to be there. I believe Representative Jordan touched on this earlier. It's that uncertainty that all the spending and taxation and borrowing creates that stifles a lot of the free market.
Mr. Jordan, the question to you.
Well, by the White House's own definition, it didn't work. I know it didn't work. The American people know it didn't work. And the White House had their definition, said if we pass the stimulus bill, unemployment will stay at 8% or below, and it's at 10%. We've had slow economic growth for several quarters now. So obviously it didn't work. The solution is to do a real stimulus package. We introduced one with the working with American Solutions, Newt Gingrich's organization. We call it the Economic Freedom Act. And it reduces the taxes on the job creators. It doesn't throw money at something and say we're going to spend taxpayer money and have so-called created or saved jobs, the interesting definition the White House came up with. It would actually allow the job creators to have more of their money, allow families to keep more of their money, to plow back in the economy and create jobs. And our bill did specifically these things. It said we're going to get rid of the estate tax, we're going to lower the capital gains tax, and we're going to payroll taxes for 1 year, we will cut them in half. That's real money in the pocket of the employer and the employee, money that they can plow directly back into their business. I remember the first time right after we had introduced this, speaking to a group of NFIB, small business owners in Mansfield, Ohio. And I outlined our proposal in contrast to the president had just talked about his proposal. If you're a small business owner and you hire someone, you will get a tax credit. And I said contrast, and they basically laughed at the president's proposal. They said, we're going to hire someone when it makes sense for our business, when it makes sense to do that, when we need a new employee, when we need someone else to add to our productivity. But they liked our proposal because they understood that was real money they could put back to work in our economy, fostering job growth, fostering a growing economy. They liked our approach. So that's how you create jobs, is you can't deal with, as I said earlier, you can't long-term deal with the numbers we're looking at, the debt to GDP ratio, the deficit to GDP ratio, if you don't have economic growth. And you can't have economic growth if you don't provide incentives to the job creators, which are the small business owners across our economy.
Follow-up question, Mr. Letterman.
Surprise, huh? For Mr. Jordan, and I mean, it's just a clarification for me. What is the difference then between Congress and the President awarding stimulus money, that's one-time money, versus a temporary tax cut that was in your proposal? I'm not sure I see what the effective difference there would be, if any.
I would say it's all the difference in the world. I mean, it's all the difference in the world. It's saying first, oh, by the way, it's your money, American families. It's your money, American business owners. We want to allow you to keep it and use it versus, oh, we're the big, bad big, smart federal government. Give us your tax dollars, and then we'll decide where we're going to hand it out, who the winners and losers are in our economy, this whole bailout mentality that's got a hold of Washington. It's all the difference in the world. And most of the tax cuts in our bill were, in fact, permanent. But the payroll tax was a one-year infusion of their money that they got to keep to plow back into the economy. I would say it's all the difference in the world. Having the federal government in all its wisdom taking in taxpayer monies and deciding how they're going to dish it out versus letting families, taxpayers, and business owners keep their money and use it the way they want to use it to go after their goals, their dreams.